welcome you guys back out to another video. We're doing something a little different. I just got my shoulder mount back. Figured we'd tell you guys a story. This last season, we were talking about starting filming or hunting like adventures and whatnot, and it just never came to fruition. And I'm kind of regretting that now, because I'd really like to get this whole hunt on video, because it's just such a cool and like just super fast paced hunt. Like I've never had a hunt like it in my life. But this is Boone. Got this buck on October 11th, 2025. Harvesting with my rifle, and still feel super blessed, and I'm still just in love with this buck. And in fact, I've been in love with this buck ever since February 2025. Me and my brother started shed hunting in 2025 and had found a couple sheds that year already. But basically, we found a buck on a trail camera that we just randomly placed on a trail that had sign on it. And it turns out it was the buck junkhead. Got the picture, probably show it here. But so we went up into this area where we had a south-facing slope and an alder patch, and I'd seen some deer in there before. So we came up with the idea of just going up there and looking for junkhead sheds. And so we started doing that. Found like a small little 2-point brown, first ever brown for me. It was a big accomplishment. But I always knew that I just wanted to find that big, giant 4-point blacktail shed. I didn't know if it would happen in 2025. I didn't know if it would happen in 10 years down the line. But nonetheless, me and my brother met back up, started walking down the road towards the spot. And I can't remember what side it was. Do you remember what side?
Left.
Okay. Well, Boone's left side antler is lying on the road, just sitting there, and we both spot at the same time, and we might have some video from that. But man, the only time I've screamed that loud is when I've killed elk and deer, really, honestly. So it was a big accomplishment, and we're freaking out. First 4-point blacktail shed, and then first ever road shed. So that was a big accomplishment. And then we're looking around for another 30 minutes, and my brother found his right side, and we're able to match him up. First ever match set of sheds. So a lot of firsts with this deer so far. And we never knew about him until we found his sheds. So right then and there, we knew we had a possible Boone and Crockett blacktail in those woods. And that really changed the game for us. We never really hunted that spot. We just, like I said, we threw up a camera, I found a buck in there, and then ended up finding 3 sets of blacktail sheds in there. So we knew going into this season in 2025 that we were gonna give it our all for Boone or even junkhead, just because they were the biggest blacktails that we ever had an opportunity at, let alone the most unique. So coming around to July 2025, we threw up some cameras around that patch of alders where we found those sheds. Came back around in August, I believe it was August 1st, because we're bear hunting up around that area. So we stopped by and figured we'd check the trail camera. And we have Boone on camera. He's fully in velvet. At first, I don't think we realized it was him just because how narrow he is. But just by looking at the pictures, taking the SD card home and comparing it to the sheds, we confirmed it was Boone. And we were pretty shocked about just all the characteristics he has, just how tall and how narrow he is. It was really surprising to us. I've never really seen a blacktail like that. So that was cool. But throughout the rest of the year, we just monitored trail cameras, got him on trail camera, say 3 or 4 more times, whether it was on cell camera or just by your regular old trail camera. We had him passing through at multiple different spots, but he wasn't super frequent. So, and he was always at night. So that, the casual blacktail thing of they're nocturnal was happening here. September comes around, I had a multi-season deer tag, so took the bow out a couple times and sat in that spot hoping that he'd pop out, and I don't even think we ever saw a deer. So it was a pretty, I guess, depressing time. So we packed it up once the first week of September came around. We got in the elk woods and chased elk all throughout September and into early October for muzzleloader. And we're just giving that spot a break, letting them settle in, and seeing what rifle season can offer. And just seeing if the rut can get these bucks up and moving. So fast forward, early October, get Boone on trail camera one more time on like the 7th of October or something like that. So that was super exciting going into season. October 11th rolls around. October 10th rolls around. It's the day before opening day. Gets camp set up, all that good stuff. Get settled in for the season, thinking I was gonna have a long season ahead of me. So sleep throughout the night, have a plan in the morning. October 11th, I'm gonna go to the top of this alder patch, in the spot where we found Junkhead's matched set of sheds. But my plan is I'm gonna sit there all morning, and I'm gonna wait and let the deer make the moves. Forecast had it that there was gonna be some rain on and off in the morning, and it was gonna be around 35 degrees, I think. So pretty cold, pretty good conditions for opening day. Usually it's never like that. So yeah, I get to the spot about 2 hours before light so that no one else can get there before me, and sit there and play some solitaire for 2 hours. And then basically 30 minutes before light, walk in and just sit down where I'm gonna sit on top of this ridge about 200 yards from a logging road. So I sit there and kind of wait for it to get light, and then I start walking in, and moving at a very slow pace, because that's just what you got to do with blacktails. Really what I was thinking was I'm going to take 5 steps, and I'm going to stop there for at least a minute and glass around me, listen, because you could literally be looking at a blacktail and you don't even know it. I mean, like, the things blend in like crazy. And during that time of year, everything's still kind of grown up. Fall's just starting, so it's still quite thick. So I really wanted to pick it apart, and make sure I wasn't missing anything, because I knew there would be a buck that I would want to shoot in there that day, whether it was a 3-point or Boone. I knew there was going to be a buck around there. So, and you kind of have to trick yourself into thinking that, right? You gotta, to be the best at what you do hunting wise, you always gotta just kind of trick yourself and tell yourself that there's a giant in here, or there is a buck, whatever it may be. At least that's what I do, and that's what helps me from getting careless with my movement and noise and all that stuff. So nonetheless, I'm walking in, I'm making this 200-yard walk. It takes me about 30 minutes to do this walk. But in the middle of this walk, we got a trail camera up there, checking that. We have a buck that we call the Tall 3. He was laying in there. He was there every day, leading up to season for like a week straight with these other 2 bucks, and they were sparring and stuff. And nonetheless, the night before, he was laying in front of the camera. So that was a good sign. I was like, I know he's here. He's here somewhere. And I would shoot that buck. He was a nice buck. But when I'm checking that camera, my phone starts ringing, or buzzing more so. And I answer it, and it's my brother, Zach. And he's telling me, he's like, Junkhead's down at the bottom. He's with another buck. And we think it might have been the Tall 3. Yeah, we're not sure. It's kind of a little blurry, but we know it's Junkhead down there. And he's about 200, 300 yards below me, feeding at our cell camera. And so I had this feeling in my gut to just keep going. Just go to the spot, do the morning sit. Maybe they'll come to you, kind of thing, instead of just bombing down there and trying to get them. Really, I just think it was God being there with me and guiding me to this deer. But nonetheless, I told him, let me keep hunting. Like, just let me keep going. I'm going to keep going. Like, that's cool that they're down there, but I'm gonna keep going. And mind you, we had no clue this guy was in the area at the time. So I keep walking, and my brother calls me again. And I really can't remember the conversations that we had just because it's all kind of a blackout now. But he's basically telling me, like, they're down there, like, you're kind of crazy for not going down there right now. And I'm just like, let me keep hunting. So walk about another 5 minutes, I want to say, maybe less. I'm almost to the spot. I get to the spot, and I literally stop right where I'm going to sit, and a deer jumps. And I'm like, oh, shoot. So I take my pack off, get on the ground, pull up, like, get on my knees, like, pull up my binocs where that deer went, because he ran to the left. And I have no clue if it's a doe or buck, so I'm playing it as if it's a giant buck. Well, it turns out I see the narrow rack looking right at me. It's him. It's Boone. Standing right there, staring at me. And so I get my gun out, and I'm looking through the scope trying to find him. I find him, and he's looking back from where he came from. He doesn't know what's going on. But he's standing there broadside, 75 yards. And I've never been so jittery behind a gun. It was terrible. It was awful. Like, I was freaking out, man. Like, I get on him, and praise God for this, but my bolt was somewhat open, and I punched the crap out of the trigger. Like, I would have missed him, 1000%. I was all freaking jacked up. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? Slam the bolt down, get back on him. I kind of have a second to just calm myself down there, and I'm able to make a good shot. My best shot was a neck shot, so I took that because it would have been a high lung shot, and I don't want to hit in that gap between the lungs and that back strap, you know. So what was most ethical there was a neck shot, so I took that, and so I get back on him, and just boom. It's quiet. It's still. Nothing's happening. Nothing's moving. I don't know if I hit this deer or not. You know, I'm 99% sure I hit this deer. It felt like a good shot. And so I walk away. I get my stuff, and I walk away. I walk back towards the truck. Just out of shock, I guess. I felt like I made a good shot, and I felt like this deer is dying or is dead. And so I need to call my brother. That's the first thing I do. And it wasn't more so a talk, it was more so a freaking out and yelling. It's a crazy moment. My heart rate had to have been 200 beats a minute at that time. And it's all kind of a blackout now for me too. It's like, I just shot the biggest buck of my life. Like, I accomplished so much in that moment that I've been dreaming about since I was a little kid. But nonetheless, my brother's freaking out. He's like, all right, I'm getting my stuff right now, and I'm heading to the woods. I can't even remember why he wasn't with me, but he got there in a timely manner. But he told me during that phone call, he's like, stay on the phone with me and go down there and see if this buck's dead. Because I was like, I don't know if I want to let it sit just in case, you know, in case I wounded him and he needs to lay, kind of thing. Just playing it safe, kind of thing. So nonetheless, I went down there and then transferred the call to FaceTime and walked down to where he was, and then I see a deer standing there, and I about have another heart attack because I think this is my buck. I think it's Boone standing there looking at me at 20 yards or whatever it was. But it's two does that I think he was hanging out with. I'm not quite sure. He was very near them during the time. I just never saw them, so I think he might have been with them. But nonetheless, I figure out it's a doe. So I just keep walking towards this thing, and it doesn't care about me. It lets me get super, super close. But I'm going to where I remember him standing, and I basically just see his ass sticking out behind a fern, and And then there's another moment of just screaming and celebrating. But I'll tell you what, this deer had the biggest body on a blacktail that I've ever seen. Everything about him was huge. He easily had the biggest fat cap on a deer I've ever seen, and he was just everything. He had everything. He's got the mass, he's got the junk, he's got the height, he's got the length, like everything. So this was a big accomplishment for me. I wanted to get a giant blacktail. I didn't know what that was. At the time, the biggest thing I ever got was just a decent 3x4 the year before, and before that was all 2 points. You know, I've never really been one to kill giant blacktail, but it's always been something on my list. So nonetheless, get them tagged, start taking some pictures, making phone calls to people, and then my brother gets up there and pack that sucker out. But yeah, it was a 30-minute hunt opening day, and he was on the ground. And like I said, this buck's brought a lot of firsts for me. First match set blacktail shed, first 4-point blacktail shed, first 4-point blacktail I've killed, and probably the biggest one I'll ever kill. It'll be really tough to beat him in character and mass and all that stuff. Like maybe the tape measure might beat him, because I think he grossed out at 121 inches. But I'll never have a buck that's this unique or has this much junk or whatever you want to call it. So I feel very blessed about that. I thank God for it. And the reason I got this thing shoulder mounted is not because he's a big blacktail. It's more so my testimony to God. Just because that morning I literally made it a prayer that I kill Boone or Junkhead, that he provides that for me. And I've never made a prayer like that was so direct, and God provided 30 minutes later. And so this is my testimony to God and my belief in Christ, because he provided for me and my family that day, and he provides for me every day. So this is just a story I wanted to share with you guys, and kind of have you guys experience it as best as we can without, getting film of the hunt itself. And so I kind of want to make that up to anyone that's been curious about this buck. But yeah, this is just like a chapter closing in my life. I feel like I can properly move on from this season and look forward now and see if we can get Junkhead this year. So yeah, just thank you guys for watching. Like, we really appreciate it, and we're super excited to start filming hunts this year, and it's going to be super fun. But if you want to see stuff like this, just let us know, and can provide more hunts for you story-wise. So thank you.